All right. So Capcom, as of this morning, as of June 7th, Capcom has dropped the full format for the 2024 CPT season. There's been a lot of changes since last year. Some of the changes are good, I think. Some are not so good. So let's take a look. Let's see what's going on for the 2024 season. So, this season, there are going to be 4 types of events that you need to know about, which are, as you can see here, we've got premieres, super premieres, World Warriors, and World Warrior Super Region, or Super World Warriors, or whatever you want to call them. So, you may have noticed, online premieres are not here anymore. Online premieres are gone and dead, and to be honest, good riddance, because I don't think anyone particularly liked online premieres. Also, interestingly, for the first time ever, the LCQ is gone. There is no last chance qualifier this year. So, if you are planning on flying to Japan to enjoy a holiday and enter the LCQ, there is no LCQ this year. And the final notable absence here is that there is no auto qualification for the reigning champion. So Uma does not get a spot automatically. He's going to have to qualify like everyone else. It's anti-Hololive discrimination, I tell you. So let me explain what these four event types are real quick. So we've got up first, we've got premieres. And premieres are very straightforward. These are traditional, classic style offline majors. Really simple to explain. Big offline open bracket tournament. Anyone from anywhere in the world can enter. If you get first place, you're in Capcom Cup. That's it. Not much to explain there. They're just like a classic winner takes all, first place qualifies tournament. And let me just show you the list of premieres. So these are the premieres and the super premieres. I'll cover the super premieres in a bit, but the premieres are Evo, UFA, Blink Respawn. This is Cream City Convergence, which is an event in Wisconsin, I think. We got East Coast Throwdown, and also Kings of the World. These are all the ones that I've just mentioned. Those 6. Those are the regular premieres. I'll ignore these 2 for the time being, the Japan and Singapore ones. So these 6 tournaments, you just have to enter, you win first place, you're in Capcom Cup. That's very straightforward. Now, up next, we have the super premieres. Now, you'll notice that it says on here, 4 players qualify from super premieres, but there's only 2 super premieres. There's the Singapore one, and there is the Japan one. And basically, these are exactly the same as regular premieres. The only difference is that rather than just first place qualifying, first and second qualify for these ones. So the Singapore Super Premiere and the Japan one, if you make it to grand finals, you just qualify for Capcom Cup, even if you get second place, which is kind of interesting. It's a different approach that we haven't really seen before. I do think it creates a slightly weird dynamic in the tournament, because it means that, like, probably the most consequential match of the entire tournament is going to be losers finals. If you're in grand finals winners side, you've already qualified. And if you're in losers finals, you're fighting for a place in Capcom Cup. So, like, grand finals is going to be a little bit less hype than losers finals, because both players will already be qualified. But I still think it's okay. It doesn't really bother me. Like, I think that's fine. Yeah, grand finals is sort of like an exhibition match. At that point, you're only fighting for prize money. Oh, one last thing I want to say about the offline events before we move on. As I mentioned earlier, there is no LCQ. So Kings of the World, the UK CPT in December, is actually going to be the last chance to qualify in an open bracket format. This is effectively the last chance qualifier. So this thing in the UK, in my backyard, is going to be absolutely stacked. I'm really excited. I can't wait for it. Okay, so that was the easy stuff to explain. So that's 10 spots in Capcom Cup. It gets a bit more complicated now, because we have to move on to the World Warriors and the Super World Warriors. Let's start with the regular World Warriors. As with last season, these are online events, the World Warriors, and they're region locked. So there's a bunch of regions. Let me just get up the rules here. These are all of the regions in this little box here of World Warrior regions. And they're split into 2 types, okay? There's regular ones, which are just like these. And there's super regions, which are the pink with the yellow background. we'll ignore the super ones for now. We're just going to cover the regular World Warriors first. So, if you live in one of these regions like Mexico or Germany or Central America East, you will have 5 online events. Same as last year, 5 online tournaments, and how high you place in these tournaments will give you points towards a leaderboard. And then at the end of those 5 tournaments, the person with the most points will be seeded first for a regional finals, second, third, fourth, all the way down to 8. So if the top 8 in the leaderboards will go on to like one last tournament to qualify for Capcom Cup. That'll be the regional finals. However, the way that the points are calculated this season is different as well. I actually like what they've done here. So, the way it worked last year was that it was literally just a case of whoever has the most points is first, whoever has the second most points is second, and etc., all the way down to top 8. However, this year, the way it works is the amount of points that you have at the end of the World Warriors is your 3 best results. So you can see here, in the top line of this table, player A got 30 points, 10 points, 50, 10, and 30. But they only take your 3 best results. So they have 50, 30, 30 for a total of 110. And this is really nice because it means that if you miss or are unable to attend 1 or 2 World Warriors, it doesn't just screw your chances of qualification afterwards. Like last year, you were heavily incentivized to enter every single one of the 5 tournaments, even if your schedule didn't allow it. Like people were canceling vacations, trying to get time off work. You know, it was really difficult to like commit yourself to being available for all 5 tournaments. This time, you could just show up, win the first 3 tournaments, collect your 150 points, and then just peace out. You're guaranteed first place. So as I said, at the end of this process, you'll end up with a top 8 based on the top 8 most points. They'll go on to a regional finals, and then whoever wins that regional finals will qualify for Capcom Cup. So there are, I think, 10 spots up for grabs this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. 10 regions that are ordinary World Warriors. Now, Super World Warriors. That's all the regions outlined here with the pink text with the yellow background. All of these regions, including the UK where I'm from, these are listed as super regions. And what that means is that these regions also have 5 qualifiers, but rather than the qualifiers leading to a top 8 where you go on to compete for the regional finals, what happens is after those 5 events are finished, the person who's got the most points instantly qualifies for Capcom Cup. So for example, if Ender Walkers, the young prodigy, shows up, he wins the first 3 World Warriors, secures his spot, he'll just go straight to Capcom Cup. No extra effort needed. He just qualifies immediately. But what happens after that is the remaining players in the leaderboards from 2 down to 9, rather than 1 to 8, because the number 1 will have already auto-qualified, those people will now go ahead to the regional finals. So for all of these regions, the super regions, they allow 2 players to qualify. Every other region is only for 1 player. So I actually like that a lot because one of the problems with the World Warrior format was that it didn't really reward consistency. Like theoretically, last season, you could have won 5 out of 5 of your World Warrior events and then had a bad day in the regional finals and just ruined your chances. Now, if you are super consistent and you win 2 or 3 or 4 of your World Warrior regions, if you're in one of the super regions, you just go straight into Capcom Cup. No extra stress required. There are 14 regions that are classified as Super World Warriors, and like I said, 2 players will qualify from each of those regions for a total of 28 spots from the Super World Warriors. 48 players will end up in Capcom Cup. So let me just explain my thoughts on this new format real quick. I think it has some pros and some cons. I think the pros are that more offline events, just in general, is always a good thing. I think offline events are just sort of naturally more exciting to watch, more fun to attend. I just like offline events. I think they're just more fun. As I mentioned earlier, I like that the Super World Warrior events reward consistency now. On the downsides of this new format, I feel like the designation for regions to be regular World Warriors and Super regions is kind of arbitrary. It feels very random the way that they've sort of formatted this. There's not really any clear metric for like why some regions here count as super regions and why some don't. It doesn't seem to scale with population, and it doesn't seem to scale with like regional skill. Because like South Korea, for example, is an extremely strong region, and that's not a super region. I think Southeast Asia and South Korea are probably roughly equivalent in terms of like overall player skill, these two regions. So I don't know why one's a super region and the other's not. It feels very random to me. Oh, I guess, and my last sort of like criticism of this structure also is the only World Warrior region in Africa is South Africa, and I really think North Africa needs representation in this thing. In my opinion, right now, North Africa is the strongest like sub-region of Africa. I would know because the thing is, Street Fighter 6 has very good netcode. So it allows me to play a lot of North African players very easily. Like North Africa can play with Europe online with very little problem. There's a lot of really strong players from Algeria. There's a lot of very strong players from Morocco. There's a lot of strong players from Egypt. Like I play Linz and Chico from Egypt all the time. They're really good. There's a lot of very strong players in North Africa who have no way of qualifying via online events, which is a shame. I would have liked to see a North Africa World Warrior. Because the other reason that sucks is that if you're a player from North Africa, that means that your only way of competing in Capcom Cup is via traveling to the offline events. And it can be very difficult for players from that region to travel to certain countries. You know, they can easily get bodied by immigration control and stuff like that. Yeah, very hard to get a visa. And of course, I mean, traveling is very expensive no matter where you're from, but yeah, it's definitely an issue. But now let's stop talking about the format and let's talk about the thing that everyone has been talking about this morning, which is the prize pool split. Okay, so this is the prize pool for Capcom Cup this year. I mean, overall, it's reduced from last year. That's the first thing to say. So last year, the total prize pool was $1.7 million. And this year, it's down to $1.28 million. So it's nearly 500k less than it was last year, which I don't think is very surprising. You know, last year was kind of like an outlier, probably. It was the first year of the game. The first year is always going to be the year where like all the excitement is as high as it can be. You know, everyone's they're trying to sell the game as early as possible. The first year is always going to be the one with the biggest prize pool. But even still, this is a pretty significant reduction over last year. But that's not the issue. The prize pool is not the issue, or at least the one that's not been controversial. The really controversial part has been the distribution of the prize pool. So, as with last year, if you win Capcom Cup, you will get $1 million. That has not changed. But because the rest of the prize pool is so much lower, everyone else's prize outside of first place is significantly reduced. So it goes down to 100k for second place, 50k for third, 20k for fourth, 10k, 5k, and then on down to 1500 for 33rd onwards. Grand Finals of Capcom Cup, because of these two, Grand Finals is basically a money match for $900,000 because of this fall off. Like, that's crazy. You are going to be sweating in a way that you have never sweated before if you're in Grand Finals. So I think the reason that this is the way it is that I feel like Capcom is really attached to this kind of like marketing idea of Street Fighter esports made me a millionaire. Like I think that's what justifies all of this. They really, really like that narrative at Capcom HQ. They like this idea that they can like put out all these press releases saying, look, we made a guy a millionaire playing Street Fighter. So that's why they're still locking up $1 million in first place. But that's not really what the players want. It's a bit of a controversial topic. Okay, here's the thing. I talk to a lot of top players. I have been to events. I'm in the DMs sometimes. I talk to a lot of people who are regular attendees of Capcom Cup. You know, the kind of people who are very likely to potentially win Capcom Cup. And I often ask them, what would you prefer? Would you prefer a massive prize pool for first and a significantly reduced prize pool for everything else? Or would you prefer a much flatter structure where maybe first place only gets like 300k rather than $1 million, but everyone else's prize pool is significantly raised up? And every single person I have ever asked that question to has said, yes, I would prefer the flatter structure. Just as an example here. So Nephew, who is a regular Capcom Cup qualifier, he's been in Capcom Cup a few times, I think. You know, he said that he thinks that the prize split is not good. And then Big Bird, again, one of the strongest players in the world, follows it up with, the obsession with being able to use a millionaire as a marketing tool is going too far to the point where it's fucking over every other player. Between this, 10-minute ads every 3 games and random draw, it's clear that the players are dead last on the priority list. He kind of spitting, I'm not gonna lie. So overall, I think the CPT format is slightly better this year. I think the prize pool is way worse this year in terms of the distribution. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Do you think this format is good? Do you think it's bad? Do you think it could be improved? And I will see you guys in the next video.